What is up, anime fans? TNT Sakurai is here. So, today I'm going to be reviewing one of my all-time favorite yaois, no Kusabi. Just what is it about yaoi that draws people in? Is it the amazing reaction between two same-sex people? Is it the romance entailed? Is it the dramatic realization that, oh my god, I'm not straight? Or is it the hot man-on-man sex? Depending on who you are, your opinion could be completely different from anyone else's. But for me, I'm gonna have to say it's probably the sex. And don't get me wrong, I like the romance and the drama because both are very important in a yaoi. Okay, so the basic storyline of Ahhh no Kusabi is kind of confusing, but I'll explain it to you in a way that I'm sure you'll understand. Azon Mink who is a blondie, which is a genetically altered human being that is at the very top of the ladder, I suppose, happens upon a young man named Riki. Now, Riki is a mongrel, which is a normal human, a human created through birth as opposed to being genetically altered. So he is at the very bottom of the ladder. So Azon happens upon Riki getting the crap beat out of him and saves him because I guess he's bored. So Riki decides that he's going to pay Azon back because he doesn't like being indebted to anyone. But Riki, of course, doesn't have money, so what does he do? He offers Azon his body as a thank you. At first, Azon is pretty reluctant, you know, like, the very idea of him laying his hands on a mongrel, like, right, as if. He would totally not do that. Azon finally gives in after a bit of coaxing and harassing from Riki, and becomes very fascinated with Riki and decides to take him in as his pet. And by pet, I mean sex slave. So, yeah. Now, that is about as clear as I can get when it comes to this yaoi, because honestly, even someone like me who's watched the OVA more times than I can count and has read 2 of the novels when there's like 8, I think, doesn't really completely understand the whole, like, culture of this yaoi. You really kind of have to either ignore that part or just let it slide, because it can be pretty confusing when you don't really know what's going on. The way I think about it is blondes top, blacks bottom, and everyone in between is whatever. And I mean by hair color, not by race. Just hair color. If you have blonde hair, you're good. If you have anything lower than that, then, well, you start to climb down the ladder the further you go. So someone like me who has dark brown hair would probably be no better off than Riki. So, the thing I really like about this yaoi is that it's got romance, it's got drama, and it's got really, really good sex scenes. Because, honestly, who doesn't like yaoi sex scenes? I mean, if you're watching the yaoi, then you obviously don't have a problem with the sex. The characters are really good. The design for the characters is pretty awesome, considering the OVA itself was made in like the late 80s / early 90s. And Azon himself, for example, he's obviously the strong, muscular, manly, huge, you know, bodybuilder type, but he's not so, like, that you're completely grossed out by it in some yaoi that just make me want to throw things. but at the same time, he's not, too little of that. Whereas in the remake, which still hasn't come out yet, and I still have no idea if it ever will, they have turned him into a flamboyant, feminine looking, weird ass, I don't know, like, just, well, here's a picture. Okay, seriously, that does not look anything like the original Azon, and on top of that, it doesn't look like the Azon in the novels. I'm all for, going out of character design, but there's just some things that you shouldn't mess with, and Azon himself is pretty freaking hot. And at the same time, even though they changed Ricky's character design quite a bit, they didn't change it nearly as much as Azon's. So yeah, that annoyed me, not to mention, he has really ugly shoes in the new one. Like, really ugly. It's horrible. So, the story is awesome. It's kind of got that Stockholm Syndrome-ish kind of theme going on, where at first Ricky absolutely hates Azon and what he's doing to him, and Azon just wants to control him, but as the story goes along, Ricky becomes more submissive and learns his place, and Azon ends up caring more about Ricky than he thought he would, and by the end, like near the end of it, you realize that they've pretty much fallen in love with each other, even though there's no real reason for it. Can you fall in love with someone for just having sex? I don't know, what do you think? I mean, I don't know. I've never tried. Can't say I have. Or probably ever will. But hey, whatever works for you. But it's a cute romance without being too romantic, and the characters pretty much hate each other. Loud. The characters pretty much hate each other from the very beginning till almost the ending, where that's really the only part you see that's really romantic is the very ending, which something I have to say is I really don't like the ending of this yaoi, which I think is a real problem with a lot of yaoi yuri like anime / OVAs. They usually end tragically, and I hate that. It's like, can gay people not be happy? I don't know, what do you think? If you're gay, have you ever had a successful relationship? Let me know, that'd be cool. Anyways, I'm gonna have to give this yaoi, or this anime technically, an 8 out of 10, because like I said, it's very good, the character design is good, and despite the fact that it was made in the early 90s, the animation is pretty good, but it's also very confusing, and it takes you a while to catch on to really what's going on, and the ending sucks. But aside from those things, I still really love this yaoi, and I'm going to keep reading the novels until I get to the very end, because hopefully they won't be as explorative, I guess you could say, once they get further along in the story, because honestly right now, the last 2 novels I've read, the most of the novel has been explaining the actual background and the history and the culture of where they live, instead of talking about the characters themselves, which is annoying to a point. Anyways, I'm going to go and keep your eye open for my next anime review, and I love yous. Jamantane!